You're listening to the Mark Bradford Alchemy for Life podcast.
Wow, how much effort did it take to make that widget? Who cares? Welcome back. I appreciate you spending your time and energy on listening to the podcast. It is free, of course, so you're not really spending any resources on it for the most part. And as we've discussed with energy, you may actually be getting more energy than you're expending. That is my hope for this, actually. Technically, you may actually be getting resources for listening to the show. If you think about it, I mean, if I have helped you save some time or energy, it may have allowed you to generate more resources. So it's kind of cool. The reason I mention my normal, obvious time, energy, and resources overarching umbrella is because that's exactly what today's podcast is about. I actually have two concepts to discuss with you, but upon reviewing them, I realized that each one is big enough to put into one podcast. So here's the first concept. One of the things I've said many times is that it's very easy to short yourself when it comes to compensation for things that are time-based, right? And that is especially apparent to me when someone does something that is a time-based skill, like you're in the service industry or you do something based on time and you charge hourly, or you do something that requires a certain skill level. For example, let's talk about the thing that only takes you 5 minutes to do. Does it? Well, it's no big deal. It's only 5 minutes. Or did it take hours and hours of study, hours and hours of practice, years of doing it to hone that so that it takes you only just a few minutes? If your skill, because you are so good at it and so determined and so committed to it and so skillful, is accomplished quickly, the apparent value can sometimes be diminished by those purchasing. In my odd toolbox assortment, I have aerial photography, video editing, web development, coaching, teaching, distilling and disseminating information, podcasting. I know very well the amount of skill development that was needed for each one of those, including licensing in some of them. I know the amount of behind the scenes that it took to create what I am providing. Let's contrast two that have the same results that I have actual familiarity with. Let's take aerial photography. You can say, oh, well, you show up and you spend 10 minutes flying this thing in the sky. You give somebody a bunch of pictures. That's only worth X. This other company can do the same thing. Well, first of all, you don't spend 15 minutes on it. You have to make sure that the airspace is clear. If the airspace isn't clear, then you then have to submit a request to fly in that airspace, which may get denied. You have to actually have a license, and the license has to be up to date. It costs money to get the license. It costs time, energy, and resources to go and take the test and study for the test a couple months. Typically, if you're handing something to someone that is more than just a couple pictures on a stick, you actually have to take that back to your video editing software, which is time, energy, and resources to learn and purchase, and then you have to edit it. All of that is hidden when you hand someone a digital file. Let's take my particular instance of coaching. You can say, well, how much is your coaching for 4 hours a month, once every week? Oh, it's X. Oh, and then you do the math and go, oh, so you're charging X per hour? No, I'm not. I'm charging an amount for a package, for a thing that I am providing to you with a unique set of skills and background. I'm providing something to you based off of a website that I built, researched, tested from scratch using hundreds of man hours to create something that would cost tens of thousands of dollars to have someone build and create. And this thing I use is unique only to me, and I am providing that to you. They don't see that. They do see it when, of course, they log into the website and they go, oh, this is really cool, and there's a chat system and blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, they simply compare things as time. Now, contrast both of those things to someone who sells widgets. And when I say widget, I mean an object you can purchase and look at and hold in your hand and plug in or what have you, right? If Company A creates an identical microwave to Company B, or almost identical, They both charge $80 for it, right? But company B has spent an awful lot of time, energy, and resources in researching and creating a manufacturing process that is really cool and clever and patented and is streamlined to the point where their actual cost, when it comes to all told with time and energy and so forth, is that the microwave costs them like $7, right? But the other guys, it costs them like $60 to create this $80 microwave. Do you care? No. Not only do you not care, you probably don't even know. When was the last time you bought an appliance, major or otherwise, where you actually knew the manufacturer's cost on the item? And there are people that try to fool you on that, even like buying cars, right? Buying cars, you can say, oh, I know what the actual sticker price or the manufacturing cost. No, you don't, because now they have all these revenue avenues to subvert that, because the last thing any company wants you to know is how much it costs, because you're then suddenly going to focus your attention in the same way as widgets as you do on non-widgets, right? So back to the microwave. Oh, I can't say microwave, I'm sorry. Back to the microwave oven. Again, you don't care. You don't care, you don't research it, you happily buy one. If one is slightly better than the other, and maybe the company B drops the price to, $77. You're like, oh, that's slightly less. But you don't care and you don't look at it. So you don't afford the same non-affording, right? You don't afford the same complacency, ignorance, whatever you want to call it, to the people selling you a skill that's based on time. I mean, so as somebody who's advocating for people like that, like me, like you, I'm saying you need to have this awareness of that. If you are somebody who does this, who creates things, you need to be aware of the fact that you're probably shorting yourself by going, yeah, I know, it only took me a couple hours to do that. Well, did it take you 10 years to figure out how to do that in 2 hours? Is there in any way, shape, or form, are you doing any less of a job than someone else who takes 4 hours to do it? Well, then why shouldn't you have competitive pricing for that? Why do you need to be altruistic about that and go out of business? It was your passion and commitment to quality, to creating something special that got you there. You should not be punished for that. By the same token, if you are somebody who is purchasing something that is based on what you think is just simply time and a skill set, perhaps you should take a step back and say, hey, maybe I should just look at the value I'm being provided. And maybe I should appreciate something that I get a lot faster. And I understand, in the time that we live in of lots of massive offshore sort of offloading of tasks, and the time of this burgeoning AI, you could say, well, look, if the guy's going to get a Fiverr guy to do it for $11, he shouldn't be charging me $200. I understand that. But there's still a component of that, of looking at the quality of it. And of course, you're always welcome to do it yourself. I mean, that is the ultimate test, isn't it? And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs start from. A lot of solopreneurs, a lot of people who have even like creative endeavors. They start because they're like, geez, this can't possibly take that long. This can't possibly be this expensive. I'm just going to do it myself. And sometimes you do it yourself. You go to the store and you go to the store again, and you go back to the hardware store and you go back and you go back and now you've wasted 30 gallons of gas, and this $10 project is $300 with a mess on the floor, and you've wasted so much. You're like, okay, I'll just buy one next time. I get it. Thanks. So bravo to you if you've gone that far. Bravo to you if you've gone that far and you've learned. And the more that you do that, the more failings you have in that way, the more appreciation you have for the people who've gone through all of that and have streamlined it and say, look, I'm just trying to produce a lot of these. Just buy one, please. Thank you so much. And the same thing for people who have cerebral, sort of soft, quote unquote, intangible skills, in that they say, here's a thing that you can't hold in your hand, like an image or a video or a service or something like that. So I just want to make you aware of that in both directions. So give it a thought. moving forward, give a thought to when you purchase these widgets and things and go, I wonder how much it costs them, and why don't I care? And I'll talk to you next time for the other half of this. Thank you. Hey there, thanks for listening. You know I always appreciate your feedback. Please keep it coming. 3 Voices is out. It's a fun read and only $9.99 US on Amazon. And as of this recording, it reached number 3 in experimental psychology. So thank you so much.